Okay, so this third training session is about finance, accounting, and budgets. And I was very keen to tell everyone that it's not just for the people who are responsible for finance and money, because it's for everybody in the whole of the teaching associations. The finance, the money, the systems, the processes have to involve everybody in the there's more people coming in now. Have to involve everyone in the teaching association. So I really hope more people are watching this on recording as well. Okay, welcome to the other people who've just come. Kudia from Senegal. Samsung, who is Samsung? Who is Samsung SM? Can you rename yourself or tell us your name? Samsung, what is your name? Who are you? Or maybe write it in the chat if you can. I'd just like to know, I need to keep a record of who is coming to these sessions. Okay, right, we're going to carry on now. We're looking at then finance, accounting, and budgets. Let's have a look. So the session is about who is responsible for the money. Why is dealing with money important? Where does the money come from? That's membership, of course, grant applications, for example, funding, what we use the money for, budgets, and the idea of accountability, reports and accounting, who for. At the end, we're going to look briefly at some cultural differences and assumptions, and we're going to include some templates and models to help you. Okay, as always, I'm very happy to help with following up from this session, and I'll try and get all this session done in half an hour to have half an hour for discussion and questions afterwards. I think it's a really good idea to share what you're doing in different teaching associations so that we can learn from each other. Okay, so let's start. And I want to start with a picture. Okay, this is a picture of a tree, a very beautiful tree. And I would like you to think, how is a tree like the finance of a teacher association? So just if anyone would like to say anything, you can unmute yourself. Very welcome to. The person with a Samsung phone, could you identify yourself while the others are thinking?
So can we tell something about the tree?
What do you think, El Haji?
Yeah, I think that the tree might represent the number of, or maybe the commission or the committee that compose, okay, the whole association.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Could be in some way. What about the top and the bottom of the tree?
Can I?
Yes, Kudia.
Yeah, good afternoon. So to me, I think the tree can be the beginning and the end, meaning how to make it survive, to make the association survive.
This is great, isn't it? It's great when we look at images and we impose ideas of the processes and the organizations on the images. Let me show you what I think. Okay, so I think we can label all these different parts of the tree related to the money. Okay, so we're just focusing on money today, but in the wider context of the teacher association. So I want you to match these. So we've got the roots at the bottom, under the ground, the branches at the top, the trunk holding it all together in the middle, the fruits that we get sometimes, the care that we need for it, and how the tree grows. Can you have a look through these and just try quickly to match them? Has anyone found any that match yet? Okay, so I'll give you an example. So let's start with the roots. So the roots are the what is feeding into the tree, and that I've matched with E, the incoming money, the funding, the grants, the membership fees. So the roots at the bottom under the ground are all the money coming in. So the branches, what do you think the branches would be? Okay, we'll go on.
I think the outgoing expenses.
Yes, the outgoings. Gabriel, I think, yeah? Yes, 2B is the outgoings. So the incomings at the bottom, the roots, the outcomings at the top, the branches. And then the trunk. Any ideas for the trunk?
How about letter D, tie it, song the process, and report to support everything?
Yes, El Haji, yes. So the trunk is what holds everything together. So you cannot go straight from the roots to the branches. You cannot have the money coming in, the money coming out, and nothing in between. That doesn't work, does it, in a teacher association? You've got to have this really strong, tight trunk with all the processes and reports supporting everything. And this is what we're going to be looking at today. So the fruits, these are number C, fruits, 4C. You often need to wait years before the fruits appear. Okay, some years produce more fruits than others, don't they? Some years don't produce any fruits at all. And this is like a teacher association. And this is like some of your teacher associations that maybe have relaxed for a little while and then have a huge flurry of activity. It can't be the same every year. Number 5, the care needed.
Isn't it number F?
Yes. We have to protect it when it's young specifically, don't we? If you plant a tree, what's going to happen? The goats will come along, eat it all, gone. And that's happened to me several times. Lots of trees I've planted in African countries. Yeah. But we've got to look after it and protect it much more when it's gone, when it's young, before it grows up. And how it grows in the right conditions, A, with light and water, it just grows by itself organically. Okay, this is your tree for your teacher associations. I've got the key here so you can have a look at that, and we're going to come back to that at the end of the session as well. Okay, so it's really helpful, I think, to think of finance as an organism like this, with things going in, things going out, and in the middle, these processes, reports, and accounting. Okay, let's start then with the roots. Oh no, before that, we'll come to these legal aspects. Money is a complicated thing, isn't it? Because money is related to responsibility. Money and responsibility are related to the law, and we don't want anybody to get into any trouble. So we need to think about these things when we're talking about accounts and finance, and you can talk about them in your own teaching association afterwards or ask questions about them afterwards. So it's questions related to, is your teacher association a registered charity? Has to be, doesn't it, to get the funding? The law in your country about finances for charities and teacher associations are going to be different. They're going to vary. So you need to be aware of the law in your specific country. 3, who can ask to see the teacher association's accounts? Now, in your country, can the government ask? Maybe. Can the British Council ask? Maybe, for what they funded. Can the RELO ask? Maybe, for what he funded, she funded. Can the members ask to see the accounts? That's interesting. If they're paying money, surely they have a right to see what's going on and how the finances are audited. Kudia, you raised your hand, yes?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, okay. You're welcome to ask questions if you want to raise your hand in the middle. Okay, number 4, we need someone to audit the accounts usually, and that person can probably help with the accounting. Now, I am not a trained finance person at all. In fact, I've never trained with finance, and lots of people are afraid of the finance aspect and the accounting. Some people need a little bit of help. So any auditor or somebody who's going to tell you what you need to produce can probably provide some help as well. And we usually need all the help that is provided. Number 5, the bank account. Yes, we need that to get the funding, but what are the legal responsibilities? How many people have access? Are there safeguards in place? For example, 2 people to do any one transaction, so none of the money can go missing. We need to put all these processes into place, and this is part of the trunk of our tree. Final thing there, number 6, is how can you avoid misunderstandings? Now, everything needs to be clear and open so that anybody looking at these accounts and reports will understand exactly what it is. There's an example here. For example, if £250 is paid to the president, if you just put on your accounts £250 to the president, that looks like a payment. But really, in real life, the president took the money out to pay his neighbor to print all the posters and the handouts for the conference, for example. So you need to put that down as well, so that you don't have any misunderstandings that people are taking advantage of the accounts. Very complicated, isn't it? And lots of complex ideas coming into the idea of finance. These ideas come from a really good booklet, and this is available online and it's free. I'll post this booklet in the group afterwards for you to look at, and I'm going to show you a few bits from it now. This is the IATEFL Developing an Association of Language Teachers Introductory Handbook, and there's a whole chapter there, chapter 7, about how to look after the money. Very well worth reading. I'll just show you a few aspects of it now. For example, record keeping, and it shows you exactly how to do the records. Planning and budgets, saying how essential it is to plan and work out the budgets. And sources of income, and this may give you some ideas of how to get more income. You see, there's a lot of different potential sources that you may not have thought of that might bring some money in to your teacher association. I'll show you that later so you can have a look. But let's move on to looking at the roots of the tree and the money coming in. Also complicated. How much can you charge your members so that they'll actually be able to pay it, but it's not too little for the money that you need to do the activities you want to do? So I've put here that there's a fine balance between how much the teachers can pay and how much you need. If you charge too much, nobody will join, nobody will pay. If you charge too little, you won't get the money you need. So again, this is a complex balance. How much can you do with the membership fees? Now, a teaching association should be independent. I know the British Council is providing some funding. I know the RELOs are providing some funding. I know there are other grants we can apply for, but if you can be independent, that's better for your teacher association. So how many paying members do you need to get the budget that you want? Can you afford to make some memberships free of charge? For example, for teachers who earn very little, who are part-time or who earn a really low salary, can they pay less? Could you have different tiers of membership? For example, people with higher salaries, university teachers paying more, secondary school teachers paying a bit less, primary school teachers paying less than that. That would maybe be fair. And how can you know how much money you will have? Let's have a look at answering some of these questions. This session may raise more questions than it answers. I'm just warning you now. Okay, one idea is financial modelling, and this is predicting how much money you're going to get. I've done this in English pounds just because you have different amounts of your currency, so I didn't want to favour any one of you. But if you look at this, if you have 100 members and you charge £5 a year, you get £500. Not very much. But a lot more members, 500 members, the same price, you get 2,500, and you can do a lot more with that. If you get 1,000 members for £5 a year, you get £5,000. So this is well worth increasing your membership, isn't it? If you put up the fee, though, for 100 members, £10 a year, you get £1,000. 500, £10 a year, 5,000, and 1,000 members at £10 a year, you get £10,000. And you could do an awful lot with £10,000 for a year in a teaching association. Again, it's a fine balance, and you need to discuss and do this financial modelling to find the model that suits you and your teacher association. Membership records. I don't know if you do a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are the best way to put all this together. If you get people to apply on a Google form, all that information goes straight into the Google spreadsheet with all the information you have in one place. You can add a membership number. You can see who's paid. Of course, the equivalent in Microsoft is Microsoft Forms, and they are said to be more secure than Google Forms. We need all the teaching association to work together. So you can see that the finance executive cannot work alone because they have to work with the membership teams. The money they pay shows their members, so you have to share information. The easiest way is for all members to pay once a year. That's not always possible. If they can all pay at the annual conference, great, you just get all the money in. Some of them can't afford it. If members pay smaller amounts more regularly, that gives the teaching association executives a lot more work because you have to keep checking and communicating with the membership team to say who's paid, who's a member. And finally, at the bottom, it's a really good idea, if you can, to give members a personalised reminder when they need to pay next. For example, an automatic email or a text or a post in social media. Really, you have to get the balance between helping the members to pay and not giving yourselves too much work, because that takes up all your time, obviously. Okay, here are some fundings to apply for. Welcome, Salome. Which association are you from?
Elton, Port Harcourt. It's Sally.
Sally. Okay. Great. Okay. Welcome, Sally. You're a bit late, don't worry. Okay, so some funding to apply for. There are lots of funding opportunities. The Hornby Teacher Association projects. Have a look at that link. There is up to £2,000 grant they often give to teacher associations with quite a complex application form. There's the Roger Bowers teacher participation grants, and that's only open until September this year on that same link as above. That's for up to £500. That's a very small amount comparatively, but still useful. The IATEFL projects is for IATEFL associate members, and you can apply for up to £1,500. Closing date the end of March. Start thinking about that for next year, because that's only for countries which are not the rich countries in the world. Prelim, I think some of you, Nigeria, you participated in this, maybe Senegal, Ethiopia as well. British Council and IATEFL have been doing this partnered remote English language improvement project for a few years now and developing it. I don't know if it's going to continue. Look at the red points at the bottom. This is very important because many applications are received for these and people don't follow the instructions. Okay, if it says a word limit, 200 words, write up to that word limit. Don't just write maybe 20 words and think that's enough, because the word limit is them telling you how much they want you to write, how much information they need. Always get someone else to read your application and give feedback. I'm very happy to help. I'm sure other people would be as well. And of course, there are other opportunities with TESOL International, for example, British Council, of course, maybe Africa ELTA, who knows? It's a great idea to get sponsorship from corporate funding. This is from companies, and companies are often really happy to contribute to things like where teachers are going, where they can advertise in exchange for this. It could be companies that are relevant, banks, for example, phone companies, publishers. You could ask them to pay for the venue, the speakers, transport, lunch or coffee, pens, prizes, internet data bags. And it could be in exchange for the promotion of their business. You could have a banner, their names, promotion in the conference booklet, an article by them. It's got to be some sort of exchange there. The best way in to get this sort of corporate funding is to know someone in the company. If you know them, they trust you, they know what you're going to do, and it's a starting point for talking about this corporate type of funding. You have to start early. You can't do it if you've got an event next week, for example. And it often helps to match the objectives of the business you're approaching with the objectives of your project. I have worked in Guinea-Bissau, for example, with about inequality for girls and period products. And we asked an international period products company to sponsor the event and to send period products as well. So this worked really well and it suited the business. Gardening company. Ask a gardening company to provide trees to plant in schools with a plaque. Perfect. Everyone wins. Ask a paper or book company for materials and resources for a project training volunteer teachers in a refugee camp, for example. So if you can match the objectives, it suits their aims. And of course, the company might use your photos as part of their promotion. Everyone wins. My tips here are that, of course, you need the paperwork. You have to be able to share your budgets. They'll probably ask you at the first meeting, what is your budget? What is your plan? What reports have you got of your other events? What feedback can you give us afterwards? They need the evidence, the proof. If you maintain contact with your sponsors, sending photos, feedback, involve them with the teaching association, you're much more likely to get this positive relationship and build on that in future. So they'll help you again or every year. Of course, you need to promote and thank the sponsors, and you can do this in several ways on the website, social media, newsletter, publications. You can even have a whole article about them if you're doing a publication, and that's a great way of spreading their business. And of course, we need to develop positive relationships, so you can ask them several times. Let's come on to the branches now. So the branches, the money going out, and the trunk, the tight control. We're talking about a tree, obviously here. The control, the accounting, the reporting. We're going to look at this now, moving on from the roots. So how does the finance executive or the finance team, you might have one person or more, need to work with the membership executive or team? How does the finance need to work with the events planning? You can see how these things are linked because the budget has to match. The budget has to relate to the reporting. This relates to how much money is coming in from the membership and other funding sources. So everyone needs to share all this information. The question at the bottom there, how much financial information needs to be shared with the executive committee? That's up to you, but I would say as much as possible. If you have, for example, a Google file, Google Documents, and you can put everything in a shared place so everyone can access it, that's ideal. How much needs to be shared with members? I'm all for openness and sharing as much as possible. I think it's a really good idea to report back to members. You might not want to share all the processes, but have a report so that people can see where their money goes. Very important. What should finance records look like? Now, you have to have paper. It doesn't have to be physical paper. It can be, of course, Word documents online. And you need to show all the money that comes in and all the money that goes out. It's got to balance. You need to state when the money came in or out, how much money, and what purpose, description. But it can be something very simple like this. You can do it on a spreadsheet, or you can just do it on a Word document. You can even do it by hand, just writing it out, but it's got to include these things. You see the date, the description, the debit, money out, and the credit, money in, with the balance at the bottom. Of course, I'll share these slides with you afterwards so you can look back on these if you need them. What other record do you need? Right, you need receipts. Everybody, if they're funding you, they need to see the receipts from what you've spent the money on. You might have a formal receipt if it was a company, but it might be services from somebody's cousin's mother's neighbor, for example, and you can make an informal receipt yourself. Just write out what it is, get them to sign it, date it. That's your receipt. It's the evidence. You need to cross-reference these receipts to your records, so you've got them all in one place. A really good way is to take a photo of everything, keep them in your phone so you don't lose the documents. The budget plans, this can be very complicated. And of course, if you use spreadsheets, you can adapt them and you can say, oh, if I put more money in here, I can do this. If I have less money, I can do this. And you can adapt as you go along. We need the bank account statements, maybe monthly, and you need to share with the Teaching Association and maybe with the funders, depending on the agreement. And reports. You need to summarize each event for the funders with finance records and feedback. It's a lot of work, but once you know what you're doing and everything comes together and is fixed, you've got this trunk of the tree, you will get more fruits growing on the branches. Right, here is a sample budget. And I took this from Marie's wonderful budget from, I'm sorry, I think my voice went for a few minutes then.
I think there's a...
It's gone. Okay, I'll come back again. We're back again now, I think. Okay, I'm sharing this.
at the moment.
We're okay now, are we? Yeah, okay. So this is Marie from Senegal's budget based on hers, and this is a sample budget for a series of events. I think this was a lovely one because it shows very, very clearly 1, 2, 3 events. I've just filled in the top part of the event so you can see the top bit. And a typical way of filling in a budget would be to have the quantity, how many, the local cost in the local currency, the unit cost in GB pounds, if it's to a UK funder, the total amount in the local currency and the total amount in GB pounds. If, for example, the total grant is 5,000, then of course the columns above have to add up to 5,000. And you can play around with this and think, how many people? How much will the food cost? Oh, we can't afford that, so we have to put down the number of people, or make the food and drink cost less. And play around with that. Try and get some things for free. Venues, for example, are often available for free or low cost. And it's about making it balance. Okay. The last thing I want to mention is some cultural differences and associations. And I've come across this. I run a small charity in Guinea-Bissau, and we get donations and funding, and we do projects like rebuilding schools, for example. And we've come across these cultural differences. What do you think of A, B, and C? There's 3 questions on the screen now. Just have a look through and see what you think. Okay. I think there are a lot of cultural assumptions in money management and in many other aspects of leadership and teacher associations. From my cultural perspective, if an organization donates money to a project, they don't relinquish all responsibility. They have to follow it through, and they are responsible for what actually happens. I know some people think they gave the money, that's up to them, finished. We don't owe them anything. Yeah, but again, culturally, I think most people in the UK thinks that we do carry on being responsible. B, if an individual donates money to a charity, do they have a say in how it's used? Now this depends. This could be, I think in the UK system, I think a lot of individuals want to see how their money is used. And it's not just giving money, that's gone. They feel responsible for this. If the project goes wrong, they are responsible. And number C here, this is, of course, it's related to the very complex area of post-colonization international development, which involves money, funding, grants, countries from richer countries, poorer countries, and all of these things are involved. But I found a very nice website here, which compares countries according to cultural assumptions. Now, this is the country comparison tool, and you can look at it and compare your country with the UK for certain aspects. Let's have a look now and see if we can go straight to that. I've clicked on it now. Can you see my website now? It's a bit pale. So I've got this country comparison tool, and I've selected Ethiopia, Nigeria, Senegal, and the United Kingdom. And you can see a very nice graph there comparing some of these different aspects. And you can see how the African countries are very similar in some of them, and the UK is different. For example, power distance, the one on the left. Ethiopia, Nigeria, Senegal are right up high with that, whereas the United Kingdom is lower. And individualism is the opposite. Yeah. So if you want, you can click on the particular aspect. You click on this power distance, and it explains what it's talking about and the country comparison. I think it's very interesting to see who you're dealing with. If, for example, it's your teaching association getting funding from another country. Okay, so I think I've just got one or two more slides here. Yes, I've got some quotations here. Which of these quotations do you agree with? Okay, so bottom left, life is like accounting. Everything must be balanced. That's true, isn't it? It's the incoming, the outcoming. We've got to balance the books and show and share these books. Yeah. El Haji, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just saying that I was backing your choice, that the left one was the right one. Life is like accounting. Everything must be balanced.
True, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the middle one here, an accountant is someone who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing. That's supposed to be humorous because they know that somebody who is a really trained accountant knows the cost of everything, but it's the value of things which is much more important. And we've got to put the costings, the accountancy, the reports in the context of knowing the value of things. How valuable is a training session? Invaluable, isn't it? Yeah. So these conferences that you're organizing, for example, you've got to have the accountant with the detail, but you've also got to put it in the context of the value of the event. And the final one there, bottom right, I find that the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. So this is, again, supposed to be amusing, it means that the more money you have, of course, you're luckier, you get more money. Okay, we've got a few more people arriving. We've got Blessing, we've got Joseph, we've got Retta. Okay, and we have our final slide here. And we're coming back to this idea of the tree. So the whole session today has been about how the finance in our teaching association is like a tree. The roots are the money coming in, lots of different funding opportunities and sources. The branches are the money going out with fruits on them, for example, and the trunk in the middle is the processes, the accounting, the strength that holds up the tree. And we need to make lots of decisions about what sort of things, what sort of processes we have, what sort of paperwork we keep, who we share with, and how much we're going to publicize, for example. Okay, we're going to come back to that in a minute, and we're going to come on to questions, but I'd just like to share with you the plan that I've been putting together for the next few training sessions. 2 weeks' time, end of July, we've got using social media, and Steve Job from Senegal is going to join us for that as well, from the British Council. August, we've got the 2 sessions suggested by the executives in Senegal, Empowering Women to Present and Teacher Association Roles and Responsibilities. In September, I'm going to share with you the leadership skills that I'm going to do on the course for future ELTA leaders. I shared with all of you a few days ago the application form for this leadership course in September, and some people have asked if I can do everything with you as well. Yes, great idea. I'll do it in the training sessions on Sundays in September. October, I've got some ideas on planning training sessions and presentations, and then setting up special interest groups. And if you'd like to suggest more topics, then please do. Okay, we've come to the end of my presentation. Just have a look, one more look at that tree before I stop sharing. And now we're on to discussion and questions. Is there anything you'd like to ask about? Does the idea of the tree make sense? And is there anything from there that you don't agree with from the presentation? Or anything that your teacher association does particularly well that you can share with the others related to finance? Nobody wants to say anything?
Oh, dear Linda.
Yes, Alhaji.
This is Elijah. We really appreciate the idea of the tray. To me, it's to show exactly how the accounting should work in an association, mainly a teacher association. The money comes from some sources. Okay, here in the Senegalese ATES, we are funded by maybe the British Council, the RELO. Okay, so they are funding our events. This year, the new president has initiated a new idea, which is about founding ourselves. How did we want to do it? So we call all teachers who are civil servant or even who are not civil servant to give their go to participate, in an for amount of 1,000 per month. And we have, one of the excellent, accountant in our association for long. Marie, she's not around, but she's very good at that.
She is.
And myself, I really follow you very well. And that was very interesting to me because I'm teaching in a school, which is ESP. I'm teaching ESP. And we have a branch, a field where we have okay, accounting, there is office administration, etc. But when I'm following you, I really appreciate the way you handle the things. Okay, I most of the time exchange with the students, okay, who are really the specialists. I'm just the language teacher. So, but the inputs, they come from them. But really, it's very interesting, the idea of organizing and then having the money where it comes in from and where it is, okay, spend it. Very interesting. And I love the idea of the trade. I love it, really, the idea of the trade.
That's
And then
great.
writing, yeah. And then the final thing I really appreciate is the writing report, as you said. So we have to, okay, write the report to tell the association member how the money is spent and where it comes from. So then we can have this balance. And then after that, we will know exactly the value, how much money did we spend on this, and what is, okay, the outcome we get from it. And that's really, really very interesting. And okay, to tell the truth, I really appreciate the idea of the trade. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. And I think you mentioned a really, really good point there, that you can, if you are able to, make use of the school accountant, because there is often an accountant that comes into the school that is happy to help a teacher association as well. So
Yeah.
you need to make use of friends, neighbors, anyone you know who is qualified. But again, it's not so much of a secret, is it? It's quite logical, the fact that you just have to take records, put them on a form, link the incoming with the outgoing, and ask for help when needed.
Okay.
Would anyone else like, and I also think you've got a very good person there in Marie in your teaching association. I think she must be trained with accountancy, is she? Or maybe she has experience from Africa ELTA, I think, maybe, which is great.
So I'm sorry, I didn't.
Sorry, El Haji? Hello?
So when you were talking about Mary, so
Yes.
if ever she was trained on accounting or not, I did not catch you exactly there. That's why I could not tell you yes or not. Okay.
Okay. I was just saying that maybe she was helped by Africa ELTA, because I think she worked with them for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
She's good at that, really.
Yeah. So it's great to use people who have had training in other organizations. And it's also great for us as teacher association leaders to volunteer for other organizations as well, because we learn a lot more from them, for example, from Africa ELTA. Retta, you have your hand up. Would you like to say something? Retta? Can you unmute?
Hello, Retta?
Retta, what would you like to say? Maybe he has a problem. I think Ethiopia had some problems with connection, and both Retta and Joseph joined later.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, Retta. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Wow.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Linda, and everyone. And good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry for the connection problem.
I will stop my video.
As I have seen from your last presentation, I've seen the picture of three, and I would like to say, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's breaking up a little bit, but yes, we can.
Hello.
Yes, carry on.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to say thank you for your artistic way of explanation, picture of the three. And as I've understand, the thing is, once after getting the money, first of all, the tree can collect different kinds of mineral from the ground, and it spreads to its branches and in different kinds of places and veins and leaves as well. So that will be the productive way of plants. And when you come to this particular session, after getting the money, the association has to work a lot in different kinds of branches and in different kinds of valuable things using that money, whether it is local or international. So that after getting the money, we have to know how we are going to use the money logically and very usefully. This is what I understand.
You're right, yes, and we have to also be open and clear and keep as many records as possible. Teddy is asking in the chat, how do we improve our accounting knowledge? And my answer there is often by trial and error, just by doing it and seeing what you get wrong, or doing it and sending it off as a grant application, and then they send it back with comments, for example, saying, we can't give you this grant because you haven't got enough detail in this, for example. So we have to be open to making mistakes and being improved by correct critical comments. But lots of people are afraid of accounting and finance, but it doesn't need to be that complicated. Just very simple, just noting down incoming, outcoming, those dates, making it clear to everybody is the most important thing. Any more questions or comments? You're very welcome to ask for help with any budget, for example, or any accounting or finance information or receipts. Very welcome to ask for help in the group, and maybe the other teacher association can help you with that, or maybe I can help. Shall we end for today if there are no more questions? I will send the recording round into the group